Dubrow Suspicion Files.
All right, let's do a little experiment. When I say the words Loch Ness Monster, what's the image that immediately pops into your mind? I'm willing to bet it's a very specific one. Yeah, I'm guessing it's this, right? That long, graceful, swan-like neck rising out of the water. It's the classic, the iconic surgeon's photograph. It's the picture that has pretty much defined Nessie for generations. Okay, now I want you to take that image and just for the next few minutes, completely forget about it. Because that's not where this story actually begins. The first story, well, it's a lot messier, way more chaotic, and frankly, a much better mystery. So let's open up the files. We're looking at case file 1933-1112. We are going back to the very first photograph ever taken of whatever is in Loch Ness, and it tells a completely different tale than the one you think you know.
So, let's get right to the key piece of evidence. The date is November 12, 1933. A man named Hugh Gray aims his camera at the loch and captures something that's about to ignite a global phenomenon.
Just look at this. It's so different from that elegant picture, isn't it? This isn't graceful, it's violent. The water was described as a boiling mass of foam. And the object, it's not some slender neck, it's a thick, muscular, S-shaped thing that looks like it's thrashing at the surface. This is the monster's first ever portrait, and it is pure chaos. But here's the thing. This photo didn't just appear out of nowhere. To really get why it had such a massive impact, you have to understand the time it was taken. The year 1933 was in the grip of what the press literally called monster fever. And you can see just how quickly everything blew up. It starts when a new road opens, giving people a great view of the loch. Then in April, there's a report of a whale-like creature. By July, we get the first big land sighting, that famous long-necked creature crossing the road. The media goes wild. And then, right at the peak of all this hype, in comes Hugh Gray with a photograph. It was exactly what the world was waiting for. So why the long neck in that July report? This is where things get interesting. Some researchers call it a classic case of cultural priming. You see, one of the biggest movies of 1933 was King Kong, which just so happened to feature a long-necked dinosaur living in a lake. And the people who reported that land sighting? Yep, they'd apparently seen the movie. The public was basically handed a template for what a monster was supposed to look like. But even with all that monster fever, there's a really compelling argument that Hugh Gray's photo is the real deal. It's not just about the hype, it's about the man himself and the physical evidence he produced. And this is absolutely crucial. Listen to what Hugh Gray himself said. He states, "I did not see any head." He didn't describe the long-necked monster from King Kong. He described seeing what he thought was a powerful tail lashing the water. So his own testimony actually goes against the popular image of the monster at the time. And here it is. This is the believer's trump card. The newspaper had the original negative sent to Kodak for analysis. Their experts examined it, and their verdict was crystal clear. The negative was untampered. Now think about that. That means a real, physical object was in the loch when that shutter clicked. So the question isn't, is the photo fake? The real question is, what in the world is that object? Okay, so like any good mystery, this brings us to the skeptics and their lineup of usual suspects. And this is where we have to apply Occam's razor, the idea that the simplest explanation is probably the right one. So let's frame this. Hypothesis A, a massive, unknown animal, something unknown to science, surfaces. This requires us to believe in something pretty extraordinary. Hypothesis B, a very common animal is photographed badly by an excited man in the middle of a media frenzy. Occam's razor is pointing pretty hard toward B, don't you think? And there are two prime suspects for what that common animal might be. First, the swimming dog. It's a known fact Gray was out walking his Labrador that day, so the theory goes we're just seeing a blurry photo of his dog, maybe carrying a stick. The second idea is a rolling otter. A zoologist looked at the image and was convinced that's exactly what it was. Both are simple, plausible explanations. But just when you think, okay, case closed, modern analysis comes along and throws a giant wrench in the works. And to really get how big of a twist this is, we need to talk about what a real hoax looks like. So recently, researchers did a deep dive comparison of the Gray photo with control images of swimming dogs. And you know what? The dog theory just doesn't hold water. The shape of the snout is wrong, the position of what looks like a mouth is too low for a dog to be breathing. And maybe the biggest clue, there's no visible body or the right kind of wave pattern that a swimming dog would create.
So the main takeaway here is this. Modern analysis hasn't proven it's a monster, but it has poked some serious holes in the simplest explanation. The photo remains what experts call an authentic anomaly. It's a genuine photograph of something unidentified.
Now, let's circle all the way back. Remember that elegant photo from the beginning? The one that looks exactly like a monster? Let's go back to that one, because this is where the story of the Hugh Gray photograph gets its real power.
The surgeon's photograph was a 100% confirmed, deliberate hoax. We know the whole story. The motive was a big game hunter getting revenge on a newspaper. The method was brilliant, a head and neck sculpted onto a toy submarine. And the cover story was perfect. Use a respected surgeon as a credible frontman.
And this is the great irony at the heart of the entire Loch Ness legend. The photo that looked perfectly like a monster was a complete lie. But the first photo, the ugly, blurry, chaotic one, that one has never been definitively debunked. Its negative was verified as real. The most famous Nessie photo is a fake. The very first one remains this stubborn, frustrating, genuine mystery. So, where does all this leave us? What's the final verdict on case file 1933-1112?
Well, for one thing, it leaves us with a legend that brings in an estimated $80 million to the Scottish economy every single year. It's a phenomenon that this single, blurry photograph helped launch into the stratosphere. And Hugh Gray himself? He never saw a penny of that. He stood by a story his whole life, not as some showman, but as a genuine witness to something he just couldn't explain.
You know, the reason we're still talking about this photo almost a century later is because it's a paradox. It comes from a time when a photograph was seen as the absolute truth, a mechanical eye that couldn't lie. And yet this truthful image captures something that is still, to this day, a genuine, unsolved anomaly.
So, I'll leave you with the same question the evidence leaves us with. When you look at that chaotic shape, captured all the way back on November 12, 1933, what do you see? Is it the monster's first face? A real glimpse of something unknown? Or is it simply the first and most enduring record of a misidentification? The file remains open.